There we go. So, yeah, as you can see, yeah, I ran this conference before ages ago, and this was our after party 2 years ago now. Get me right? Yeah, 2 years. I'm not that old. That's nice. So we're hopefully going to try and slide as fast as we can over there. So, yeah, you think the world has changed in 2 years. You get into the professional workplace, and that is what you're thinking. You go into the SOC, and you start seeing clients doing God knows what, and you sit and you think, I wasn't prepared for any of this. You know, I know how all this stuff works, but I'm surprised clients aren't actually doing this. Yeah. I thought some of this stuff was particularly amusing. Again, you graduate 2 years, what do you see? I'm just going to skip over that. That's kind of boring. Yeah, some pointers, of course. We're talking about social media and some other articles. I encourage you all, remember the human. Don't go on a witch hunt if you see someone I've posted up here. There's nobody you should know, but some of them will look a bit weird. Don't go out and send hate to anybody. Views expressed and user, yeah, Adharma is not sponsoring me to stand here or anything. My view is completely separate, yada yada. There's some mild language involved if you've not guessed already. Yeah. SOC talk, yeah, don't be daft and try and connect to anything I show you in the next hour or two. That would be kind of daft. So, who am I? Yeah, 22 graduate. Oh, yeah, sorry, let's just... Yeah, okay, that's better, right? 22 graduate. Yeah, I left straight out of university in 2022. Went straight into the SOC. I was the ex-vice president, and I know that there is a conference on today. I know how the ticketing structure works today. I know how to grab tickets if I miss tickets. So, oh yeah, I'm also a SOC analyst as well. Not to flex, but we do actually have bigger widescreens in these Lego sets. I thought it was quite interesting. But yeah, we're going to be talking about AI in case you've not guessed already. Yeah, so Eventbrite Mobile screwed me over royally on 2 occasions. So yeah, as I say, I have done security planning. I know there was reserved speaker tickets, and so I thought, hi, do you reckon you can set me up with a speaker ticket? It's like, yeah, if you give a talk. Okay, well that sounds fair. I guess I could give a talk. So here I am. Yeah, it's another SOC talk, but I pondered, maybe I could make this slightly more interesting than just sitting in a SOC and discussing all stupid things you see and all boring things. I've been talking about it if you've came to the Adharma stand. This is what really sort of floats my boat. When you start seeing interesting, stupid things like this, when you start seeing things that are actually affecting someone, that's when it becomes quite interesting. Yeah, we're not going to go anything too technical. It helps if you know what I'm talking about, obviously, but we're going to deep dive where it matters. But if you don't worry. So yeah, 2 years ago, about this time, I was in bed. I was rather worried about something 2,000 miles away. I was sat there, just reading some nice disturbing news that could casually just derail all my plans up until that point. Yeah, there you go. Ukraine is 2,000 miles away from Dundee. 38 hours if anybody wants to visit. Yeah, so for the previous days beforehand, there was this massive build-up of just crap on the Ukrainian border. And people were on the news just absolutely doing fear-mongering for I don't know, 3 weeks or something straight. You can see all these things. It's all public information. You go on it and you can see this happening in real time right in front of you. What the hell is going on? And so, I am in bed. The night, 23rd of February, 2022, thinking 2 weeks to the conference, or week, whatever it was. Yeah, we're fine. Nothing bad is going to happen. Maybe not. So midway of February 23rd, massive cyber attack tends to be a characteristic thing Russia does before they do something quite stupid. And they basically had this massive, if I remember correctly, it was wiperware that went, absolutely ravaged Ukrainian banks the day before. That's normally a good sign something's about to happen. Keeps on going on. Yep, state of emergency. Everybody's phoning Ukraine being like, yo, you're under attack. Yeah. Ukraine turns back. Yeah, we know. And they do some things. Yeah, Russia. Yeah. All of this, I was sitting there reading. Yeah. I was not sleeping right that evening. I was sitting there reading all of it. Yeah, that happened. Putin urges Ukraine to surrender. Justice and truth. Putin's coming out with all these news articles and he's trying to persuade everybody, what I'm doing is actually okay. And we're all sitting there looking at it going, no. Target military infrastructure. Yeah, so I guess he's not lying at all. Okay, maybe he's lying. Yeah, Western allies remove Russian banks with SWIFT. The funny thing is, all this news is coming out, and the exact same thing's happening on the Russian side of things. So there's people in Russia reading these things. And so sure enough, eventually, this happens. They basically restrict access from Twitter, or I'm going to dead name Twitter a lot, I'm sorry. And they don't have any idea what's going on. And since then, that has not been reinstated. You can go to Russia and the amount of, it's kind of obvious, the amount of media access you have over there is not the same over here. They will read completely different news to what we read. So how do we get around that? How do we get around somebody who's saying, well, this is correct because this is all I know? Anonymous Ukraine, I think, took down the Kremlin for a bit. Yes, something to do. By this time it's 9 o'clock, I can't go to bed. So yeah, I was rather worried. Yeah, I've been told I'm not the first to panic if something really bad was to happen. I guess, as a SOC analyst, that's something you kind of acquire. We're worried we'd be all conscripted or we'd all be sent off to do something. All of us in this room are cybersecurity experts. I can assume all of us and probably know the dangers of talking to Russia and so on. Maybe not a good thing to know how to handle Russia. You might be contacted. But then I have a really loose definition of what Russian hacker is. Maybe the society would be in threat. Maybe the university would be taken down by a ransomware attack. Who knows? Bit topical. Happened last week, but hey. Still, conference still went ahead. We had this mighty receipt. There we go. It's all animated. Spent £7,000 in one evening. Everything was fine. And, what was my worry about? Everything was fine. Was the conference going to be cancelled 2 years in a row? I thought that was a real possibility for a while. Then I kind of realised, no, it's went ahead. It's going to go ahead. If we put that much planning into it, I'd be very annoyed if it didn't go ahead. And it did. So, what do you do when you're panicking? It's 2024. You're in a talk given by a graduate. That graduate is me. This must be your thought process. If it's not, there's something wrong with you. But we're going to start off with thinking. What is thinking? How do we define thinking? What should we be thinking? No one can tell you what to think. Sorry. Yeah. What about when shit hits the fan? How do you think under pressure? High priority ticket firing just before time. You can't see him, but Captain Price was smiling down there. There you go. The question should be how to think in an emergency. What do you do if something really bad is happening? How do you keep your mind focused on what's going on right in front of you? And I like to take this excerpt from, if it's an emergency situation, how do we overcome the sort of knee-jerk reaction where you're going, oh, I can't do anything. Well, no, I can do something. What not to do is to follow Top Gear's advice, if anybody remembers this book. You swear, you catch your breath, you calm down. You have another really big swear again. You keep swearing, you keep going at it, you basically have a mental breakdown in front of whatever it is that's annoying you. That doesn't work. When you move into the SOC and you come out of university, you'll have a very different sort of understanding of what's right in front of you. You'll be looking at a ransomware attack and you'll be going, yeah, okay, I kind of know what that is. Yeah, I reckon I can probably work my way around it. You realize that, I'm responsible for something that's now quite important. There's not much I can't do in this situation. If I was to ignore this ticket, then a client's at risk. If I was to do something stupid with this ticket, the client's at risk. If I do anything with this ticket, the client's going to pay for it, basically. And you're in your fight or flight. You're me right now giving this talk. You're wondering what the fuck has just went on in the past 10 minutes. How on earth did I recover from this? Well, stay focused, stay calm. This is why, there are trainings and stuff for doing this. I was speaking at length to people today who've come up to a Dharma stand. When you come across something that, looks pretty serious, you need to have this ability just to sort of calm down, relax. There needs to be something that tells you it's time to go. You take a deep breath rather than swearing a whole bunch of times. And you engage. Whoop! There we go. So, Star Trek running to Star Wars. I've annoyed everybody, haven't I? I still remember my first high priority ticket like it was yesterday. It went something like this. I got sent a P2 ticket, and I didn't want to do that. That didn't look fun. I had no idea what the heck I was doing. But welcome to the SOC. Welcome to Russian malware. I'm sure it's going to be nothing. I don't know. It's probably going to be something though. I took a look at this ticket and we'll say, it hadn't actually fired off a high priority. In fact, to be honest, I wasn't actually assigned it. It was just sitting randomly in a queue and I was like, that looks interesting, I'll pick that up. What could go wrong? Yeah, I looked at the alert. I noticed the device was for, say, a John Doe and it was on his laptop and Doe was sitting in the UK. I'm sure it's fine. Files flagged by alert. What's the files flagged? It can't be that serious. Oh. Yeah, for those that can't read, we have Arabic for moonlight, I think, Christmas, and I'm pretty... What does that read? I got a translation here. Diagnostica portfolio? Diagnosis by portfolio? Trying to look like some Microsoft ware in Russian. Don't know why it's on this guy's laptop. So, like any analyst does, and without a clue what to do, they throw it into VT. Yeah, I'm sure it's nothing. Yeah, I'm looking at it, like, yeah, files ran. Yeah, quarantine's failed. Yeah. That was punted straight up for escalation, and my involvement in the matter was closed. I didn't have to do much more than that. That's the beauty of being a tier 1 analyst at that point. Nowadays, I have to do call-outs and stuff, so, you know. I can see people in the audience going, you could do more. Yeah, I agree. I probably could have done more. I could have probably thought about it and worked out where on earth it came from. That would be useful. So, how do we do this? You know, this is why I'm introducing this concept of critical thinking. You know, it's the art of making a decision. You're interpreting, you're understanding, you're synthesizing what you know against what you're just finding out and trying to make a logical conclusion about it all. Yeah, that's all. Cool. I'd say it's an essential skill in cyber. Quite essential that you can do this if you are coming across SOC tickets all the time and you have no idea what they're firing for. What do we need? Well, as a SOC analyst, I'd say information as fast as you can get it. In the SOC, this will look like all types of things, file hashes, logs. You can search on the internet for the things. That can be a bit risky sometimes, depending on what you're Googling. we need to basically give us enough context to get us through this event. You need to work out, you know, what's useful, what is garbage, what do I need to pay attention to, what can I ignore. Yeah, seems obvious. Client's running a pen test. We have a massive string of tickets for LSAS dumps. Yeah, I'm not too worried about that, even though I probably should be. Oh, hold on. Maybe this isn't a pen test. Maybe I do need to go and look at it. Is the scope actually looking at Active Directory? Oh, maybe. Uh-oh. You know, client normally runs pen tests at this time of the month, probably another. Yeah, that happens. You know, how do you stay frosty in amongst all of this? So, yeah, I'm in a lecture hall. Well, yeah, it's 20 past now, but move on. I am that type of evil. We're going to think about some things really quickly. We're all thinking more or less on the same wavelength. We're all computing scientists. And I'm going to define something. What do you think of when you think of power? It's like these questions you get randomly. What's the first word I say? If I say red, what are you thinking of? It's like this. What's power? Are you thinking bills? You think the money? You're thinking of electricity? Are you thinking of wealth? Are you thinking of failed Russian military invasions? Could be something. Well, you know, a word can have different meanings. And again, this is what you're going to come against up in the SOC. If you're going to see something that's firing off, it could be anything. You need to go and investigate it. Yeah. How powerful was Hurricane Bobak? Who knows? Storm power, roughly... Yeah, I did the math for all of this. Yeah, pretty powerful. 10x joules, cost $20 billion in the US for every storm they have. So there's a financial cost, there's a powerful cost, there's the actual amount of energy it's expending, there's a rain, size. Nuclear power, I'm sure that's nice and safe. We can talk about that. Never mind. UK capacity is 21.6 gigajoules of energy, whatever that means. Nukes, yeah, even higher amounts of energy, tons of costs. Cost of Trident, 40 billion. Cost of nuclear power stations, the exact same. So, you know, question where your money is going, people. I would always encourage that. You could mean economical and political power. It could be, you know, the ability to improve standards of living across places. You have that power. You have political power. You know, you can't measure this in joules, but you can measure it in the memes that are created. It might mean cyber power. Okay, maybe not the thing. For computational power, we'll call it. Yeah, not the prefab guys. It could be financially, it could be, you know, destruction of revenue, total loss, damage assets. The largest DDoS attacks, you can measure them in requests per second, or the amount of gigabits that are sent down a pipe. It's pretty ridiculous, what we've been seeing recently, but there you go. Eventually, yeah, you know, power's got all these different meanings. It can mean anything you want it to be, but, you know, what matters is in what context you're giving it in. If I was to say the power bill is huge, then I guess I'm talking about money. And my point is, one word could have different meanings. We all know these are different. A good SOC analyst questions what's in front of them and tries to determine what it's actually trying to mean. So, yeah, you then end up with this situation. So I'm looking at John Doe's machine, and it turns out he's involved in the travel industry. Okay, well, what's he doing in the travel industry? Doesn't mean he travelled. Was he going to another country? What was he doing? Well, without further context, it's kind of ambiguous. You don't really know. We know John's in the UK, but, you know, he might have visited Russia or something. Who knows? Yeah, where did the infection come from? So again, thinking critically and outside of the box, what do these two have in common? And why does Chernobyl keep coming up? We'll get to that. Both of these things are somewhat similar despite being completely different. And this is what you need to start thinking about when you're in the SOC. If you see two things happening, are they related? They look completely unrelated, but can you determine that they aren't at factuality related to each other? Both are literally under attack from everything. Their control systems are connected to the internet, although the devices themselves are not for obvious reasons. But I found this interesting. They are constantly under attack by high amounts of radiation. They constantly run backups to themselves and boot themselves up. And you'd look at these two devices and you go, no, they don't need the same sort of redundancies built in. Well, yes, they do. They're in a high radiation environment, so that's how they're linked. And yeah, the things execs will look at, they both cost about the same. $2 billion for a little remote control helicopter and $2 billion to cover Chernobyl. It's quite mad. So, you can think about different things. How is a Twitter bot different to a botnet? I mean, it's a broad term. They're not obviously the exact same, but the characteristics of both are roughly the same. One, you can even say a person involved in a disinformation campaign is roughly similar to a bot involved in a disinformation campaign. Yeah. Let's keep going. We're running a bit behind. So, yeah, we're looking at a post. Let's say somebody said, yeah, there's hackers invading Dundee today. So you do your research, you go online, you Google it, you Twitter it, whatever. You find out, yeah, there is something on today. And somebody is trying to get on your nerves and say, yeah, it's hacker. Bad word. Ooh. Yeah, but we know two things. Yeah. It's Abertay hackers. They're not bad, maybe. Might have changed in the past 2 years I've left. I wouldn't know. Anonymous Dundee claims Abertay University. Anonymous is a powerful threat actor, sure. But they're not organised. I can't find a record of Anonymous Dundee actually existing. It's just a label applied to make people think that something big is happening in front of them. And yeah, random pictures into the warbot. Yeah, so yeah, you're making assumptions. We return back to his laptop. He's actually, you think he'd be travelling. You'd think. No, not quite. I booted this ticket up, and at tier 2 somebody spotted something that I hadn't spotted, and I thought, maybe if I was a bit smarter I probably should have. I thought it would be there. I thought he'd be sitting online or something and downloading it, but no, the opposite was true. He basically ran it from a USB stick. Wonderful. There is now an infected USB stick running around this company. Not fun. So yeah, stop making uninformed assumptions. Why is it safe to assume something? Well, we can establish a commonality between two things. If, you're making a logical assumption, you're basically assuming something that's based on untrue facts, and again, we'll get into this when we start talking about disinformation. We know there's logic, yeah. So, we're all computational thinkers. We can take a problem, we can break it down into several different problems. So, a logical assumption would be like, here's the last train to Edinburgh this evening for anybody that's interested. Really is. I checked. And yeah, it's logical to assume if somebody was going back to Edinburgh this evening, they'd have to catch any train before this one. Okay? And a logical assumption would be more related to the cat. Basically, yeah, all cats have green eyes. Plato had green eyes. Plato must be a cat. Well, he's not a cat, he's a Greek philosopher. So, very rarely do I have access to anything that actually happened in front of me. Again, I am forced to make assumptions. And are they good assumptions? Oh, well. Instead, I conclude something has to have happened after I review logs, I do a hypothesis, I do my research, I apply what I know, and I apply my summary and knowledge and send it back to a client to work out and basically tell them, yeah, this is what I think actually happened. But if we get it wrong. So, here is this thing, if anybody's ever came across this problem before, this makes you think twice. A bat and a ball cost £1.10. The whiteboard's covering that, that's annoying. Bat's £1 more than the ball. How much is a ball? So if your answer is 10 pence, or everything's in 10? Yes. Welcome to stage 1. It's the initial reaction. You are thinking £1.10 plus 10 pence equals £1.10. That's not right. You're halfway there though. You've thought about the right thing. £1.10, but it's £1 more than the ball. The ball can't be 10 pence, and the bat be £1.10 because, well, that's too much. How do you figure it out? Well, you think about it. You retract your original statement. You think about it again. You think about how the language has been phrased. Oh no. We know the correct answer. We know pound comes into the equation, so you'll have 10 pence left over, sure. So unless the ball's a freebie, we're basically taking the ball and we're going, okay, what plus bat equals £1.10? Correct answer is 5 pence. So if you have a ball that's 5 pence and you have a bat that's 5 pence plus a pound, making it £1 and 5 pence, you add £1.5 to 5 pence and you get £1.10. Good job. You've basically changed your opinion just by rereading the question again. And you got it correct. That's good. So, yeah, everything in the SOC is logic-based. Well, not always. Define illogical to somebody in the SOC. Generally being able to sort of recognize our own logic is more powerful in this sense. Being able to say, well, I'm not entirely too sure if that's what's happening. I'll look into that. It's quite powerful. What do you define as a high priority ticket? I've had this question several times today. Are you worried about DOS attacks? I'm like, well, they kind of just happen. There's not much I can do about them. I'd be more interested if this wasn't expected behavior for a client. That would be kind of worrying. They became a new target. That's something to look at. A user logging on from a low risk or a high risk location, you know, are they on holiday? Are they not? Are they on leave? Are they expected to be there? This doesn't look serious, but is it? We're only human. We're not digital. We can be fooled by these things. We can look at something and go, oh, yeah, I think that's the case, and go around happy as Dally and just think, yeah, that's how it is. Not really. Sadly, not. What we do have to make decisions for us these days is AI. And I'm not entirely too sure we should be making assumptions based off AI, but I will talk about it. Truth, yeah, is AI has been around for a while, although very basic AI. We're not at the point where it's general AI. We're not at the point where you can basically ask an AI to do everything for you. I'll get into what happens when you ask it to do everything for you in just a second. Is it believable lies? Well, you know, you need to understand it before it takes your job, although I'd say if we're all involved in cybersecurity or event management, you're probably safe for the time being. There's not an official classification, but you can look it up and you can work out what, you know, distinguishes different types of AI. What do we come across? You'll have reactive AI, which is what we're kind of using at the minute. They're doing very basic things. When I talk about mitigating a sort of DOS attack through AI, this is generally what we're using. We're recognizing something silly and we're getting rid of it. Limited memory is more upon kind of what ChatGPT and so on are based on. You can ask it a question, but it will forget that question, say about an hour's time, depending on how many questions you're asking it. You have theory of mind. Again, we're not really there yet in self-aware things. You can ask it a question and it responds like a human user. It's the type of thing that you would think would pass a Turing test. And I don't know what a Turing test is. It's like, can you distinguish an AI from a user, basically? There's all these different types, of course. Narrow AI is what we have at the minute. They can do Home Assistant things. They can do, you know, there's ChatGPT up there, generative AI, I'll come on that. You have general AI, and again, we're kind of talking about in sci-fi at the minute. We're not really that close to it. Or we can have super AI, and this is the kind of point where, you know, the world has ended, basically. AI has got the nuclear codes, we're all going to die. But we're not there yet, we're way up at the top, and we have all this time to change it before that happens. So for those of you who don't know, this is what an LLM looks like. We use these a lot. This is what ChatGPT and DALL-E are all using these days. You basically feed it a bunch of information, and it tries to weight up things that are going on inside of it. There's a few things, obviously, more to that. You take a large amount of data, you apply your transformative neural network to it, a bit of a tongue twister. You ask it a question, why is this talk full of memes? That question is broken down to make sense to a machine. It's important to distinguish that a human being can understand a question, but a computer will struggle to understand sarcasm. So that's going through several nodes, different levels of a neural network. That neural network, because it's transformative, is basically taking that question and changing its interpretation of what your question is. And basically, it's going to identify a way or a train of thought that seems most in line with what you're asking. And then the answer is given based on the understanding of the question. And this is true for all of these generative AI sort of programs we're using at the minute. Why is that not working? There we go. The thing is, we're reaching a problem now where we've basically fed LLMs basically all the information we could. Anything we could give it is actually going to do much benefit to it? Probably not. If you're going to duplicate data, that's going to weigh things unfairly, so that's not a good idea. Can you feed it the internet? You mean you can, but we all seen the internet. It's a bit of a shit place. That doesn't seem like a good idea. You're basically feeding it garbage. So, yeah, what happens is it'll tend to daydream if it doesn't know what you're talking about. And if the answer, its train of thought is telling it, this is the question, and your question's a bit wrong, shall we say. Yeah, it's going to do. So this is a little experiment I ran. Generative AI is wonderful. Don't use it for your coursework. Don't use it for anything super important. We all know this. It's only as good as the model provided to it. If I was defining something beautiful, my definition of something beautiful is not that picture, is it? I don't think it's anybody's definition of something beautiful. So it's going to think about it, and it's going to come up with its best approximation based off what it knows. So, time for a bonus round. There we go. ChatGPT in the Chocolate Factory, because we've all been looking at this over the past week. It can make some really cool articles, it can make some really nice pictures, it can also make horrible spelling mistakes. So, yeah, it's garbage at children's event management, so if you're all worried about AI taking over your job, there might be a position opening for Willie's Chocolate Experience. Don't blame me. You shouldn't be using it to con it. Yeah, it's, quite embarrassing if you make a mistake using it. This was the advertisement for this event through in Glasgow, for anybody that wasn't knowing. Captivating entertainment. Yeah, okay. Experience, is that even spelled? Experience captivating live performances featuring charming characters, yada, yada, yada. It's stolen some blurb from somewhere, basically. And the end result was not what anybody bought. I hear rumours that the picture of the Oompa Loompa is going to become picture of the year, and we're not only in March, so that's kind of worrying. Yeah. The people in charge of making it, House of Illuminati. What? That doesn't seem like a reputable event management platform, but apparently they were. Apparently people bought it. 850 refunds yet to be processed, as far as I can remember. So yeah, we'll move on. Deepfakes. Yeah, you all know what deepfakes are. They're basically photorealistic images you'll see online, and you'll do two takes trying to work out if it actually did or did not happen. Comes from this. I mean, you can ask something here, generate an image of a red car. Your image of a red car is completely different to that. But, I mean, if you're looking down at the bottom one, what's stopping you from thinking that is a picture of a car in a garage somewhere? The top one's real, the bottom one's fake. This is a picture of Trump I found online getting arrested. This was fun because people all thought he was getting arrested sometime last year, I'm sure. We're going to just do a quick rundown because, again, we're running out of time slowly. Something's off. There's a visual bug in the background. If you look at the brickwork in the background, you'll see that none of the bricks line up sort of just above Trump's head. Yeah, the hats don't match. Somebody's wearing a pair of goggles on the back of their head. Yeah, Trump actually has police equipment on his belt, and he's not using it, so a bit silly. He also has 3 legs. There's a leg that you can see in the foreground. There's one behind him, and then there's one also on the other side of that man reaching out and grabbing him. Bit strange. And speaking of that, the policeman's arm is coming straight out of his chest. And you can't really make it out on that picture. There's right here, this arm coming out of his chest. It looks really weird. It's not doing it any justice, though. And yeah, the whole perspective seems a bit off. So yeah, we've all came across this recently. We've all seen Will Smith eating spaghetti recently. Yeah, that really is him. But deepfakes can be used to do things that are also quite dangerous. Just recently, last year, we had somebody trying to impersonate Sadiq Khan into inciting a riot in the middle of Remembrance Day, parades and stuff, down in London, November. Yeah, that's Remembrance Day. And yeah, caused a very small riot. People were like, well, this is what Sadiq thinks. I'm not making any apologies. He probably said it. No, that's just AI making it. You should own up to your mistakes. You have made a fabrication. AI video, yeah, I just came across that. That really is him. Yeah. It's all lies. So just as we're susceptible to lies, we're also pretty good at creating them. AI is really good at creating them. This can be intentional or not. We can exaggerate something to serve a purpose. I could say this talk is going all to schedule, and it's not. We started 10 minutes late. Yeah, but they're not all directly harmful. Me lying and saying this talk is going fine is not really going to do much for me. I just need to move on. There we go. So, taking a book out of Chernobyl's little HBO series, yeah, every lie has a debt to the truth. You can incur a great cost depending on how far that lie goes, how many people it reaches, how many people it actually affects. It can destroy reputations, it can cause horrible, horrible things. You end up with riots, there's that picture of Chernobyl again, when you're lied to about, will my reactor core explode? No. And it does. So, yeah, we're going to quickly run to disinformation real quick. There we go. There's a bunch of things that they're not really set in stone, but it's good if we understand them just from the get-go. Information conceptually has, basically something that can inform you. Misinformation is false, it's inaccurate. It doesn't necessarily mean it's bad. Disinformation, though, on the other hand, is deliberately misinforming someone. Deception is when you're using any combination of any of these above to achieve a falsehood, the belief of a falsehood in someone. And then conspiracy is when that all comes together and you get them to basically ignore everything else and keep on believing all this misinformation and all this disinformation. Yeah, so misinformation can be missing details, can be drawn from the wrong source, on the wrong context, can be completely misinterpreted. Anybody could be guilty of being given correct information and then construing it as misinformation. But again, it's not always deliberate. If the world was completely correct, it'd be kind of like a utopia. It'd be a bit of a dreamland. Everybody would be correct 100% of the time. So it's going to happen. We need to be able to recognize it. In the SOC, we kind of need to understand what happens if we get something like this. We get Google DNS firing off. Why is Google DNS firing off in the SOC? That shouldn't be much of a problem. Well, we've seen it being a callback for types of malware that do sort of DNS poking just to see if it's got an internet connection. Thus, Google gets flagged. It's not terribly malicious, it's just something that happens, and we end up with a flag for it. Disinformation, though, is when it's deliberately construed as false or inaccurate. And it does, fortunately, most of the time follow a pathway. Some thought has been given to make someone believe something that isn't true. And so you end up with things like this. Classified disinformation can, you can take this operation in World War II, for example. For anybody that knows this, it's a really funny story, but sad as well. Yeah, you basically take a body, you float it off the coast of Spain, you put a bunch of secret documents on it, Spain picks it up, and Spain, supposedly being neutral, passes it over to Germany very quickly for a little bit of analysis. Germany takes a look at the documents inside of it and goes, oh crap, yeah, okay, they're planning an invasion of Greece. Well, I'll go and, reinforce Greece. And, that can't go on. Body gets returned because Spain's neutral, and so, the military take a look at it and go, oh no, the body's been tampered with. We know they have the misinformation. They have been deceived. And so what you do is you invade Sicily instead. So anyway, do we see it a lot in stock? Yeah, not all our sensors or anything. It happens all over the time. This is masquerading, for anybody that knows our micro techniques. We see it all over the place. It's commonplace. You can get different variations of PowerShell firing up, pretending to be something it's not. You can have things falling up. You can have things pretending to be Adobe Flash Player, and they're just not. It's less obvious. Without digging, you can't really consider an IP address as clean until you properly investigate it. So our initial impressions do matter in this sense, and you need to go digging. Yeah. So let's say on another machine, I'm sitting here looking at something like this. And this all looks stupidly complex, but it's really quite interesting. For anybody that's sat in the SOC and has seen this thing, you would be looking at this going, that's not right. We're only interested in the highlighted bits. If you're looking at, we're curling from an address. Don't know what address is, I'm not posting it in here. We know there's something going on with ping. We know there's something called 3FAC going about. There's Run DLL being launched in a really weird sort of way. A lot of obfuscation going on here. It looks like it's trying to get a data stream from Run DLL32, which is not something you'd normally expect. Sure enough, we're looking at this, and I'm pretty sure we managed to deduce this as Picabot trying to take hold of some machine. Even though most of the detections were being flagged, we were basically just getting told Run DLL had run. Yeah, okay, cool. Run DLL running by itself is not really an issue, but Run DLL running because of this, that is an issue. Yeah, conspiracy theories form much the same as any theory. Something's being manipulated behind the scenes by a conspirator. Conspiracy theory is fueled when a combination of misinformation is basically, used to, give as evidence to fulfill someone's suspicions about something. So this can work two ways. Consider cigarette companies actively hiding the dangers of smoking. People thought this wasn't the case. People thought smoking was fine. Amazing. This was only, 10 years ago? And here we are now. Basically, disinformation kind of falls into this category. If you're receiving disinformation, you tend to fall into one of these three sort of categories here. You have a need to be accepted. You find information that revolves around your beliefs, and you're more inclined to take it on. You always have a sort of predisposition to things. If I was to constantly tell you all, well, everything I say is correct, are you going to really believe me? But then if I've been given a talk for the past 10 years and I keep saying everything's correct, then you're more inclined to believe me at that point. They need to be different, and again, not telling. We are selfish, so if I was to go and tell, say, a secret to Josh in the first, row here, Josh certainly has a secret that none of you do. He's going to keep it to himself. He's not going to share it with anybody, but everybody wants to know his secret. What was it? Yeah, so in general sense, any media that you consume could be considered a source of disinformation or misinformation. When you're trying to find it, it's like the oil industry. You kind of need to go back 100 million years to go and find the source. It's going to get mucky. You might be better off just kind of saying, I don't trust it and just leaving it by the wayside, but sometimes you need to go and find it. Generally, what we've seen when a disinformation campaign is actually being run, we'll see several things that look not too dissimilar to somebody running a malware attack from, as a service or so on. We see them doing the planning stage, we see them taking a look at the scope, resources, what they're going to send, what is their platform for spreading the misinformation. Then eventually what they'll do is they'll use a whole bunch of bot accounts to sort of sprinkle their misinformation across several circles. At that point, what needs to happen next is somebody to pick that up and go, oh, that's interesting, I'll have a look at that. And sure enough, they'll start to agree with it, they'll start to share it, they'll start to discuss it, and that starts picking up traction. What you have then is sharing. You've got media influencers basically going, did you know this happened? And a whole audience is then, reached beyond the original audience. And at that point, you're then in the snowball. Good disinformation campaign, but it kind of runs itself. It gets out, it spreads, and it repeats. It just shares itself. It's crazy what the heck it does. Nasty things. Yeah. Unsurprisingly, social media is the number one way this is spread. I'm going to keep dead naming Twitter for as long as I'm here. using the same premise. This is why Twitter bots can seem like they're doing something really stupid, but what they're actually doing is they're trying to manipulate the algorithm to get something up to trending, so people like us see it. We may not even be engaged in it, but as long as it's up there and there's like top 5 results, there's a chance we might click on it. So, yeah, sorry guys, we're going to look at Elon Musk's Twitter for a second, and we're going to see what bots do when we're not looking at them. This is Elon Musk last week, about this time, posting a picture of his robot. These are the replies underneath it. Yeah, Tesla Potato. Why does it walk like Joe Biden? I think we have MAGA Queen in here somewhere saying something very rude. I can't. Is she there?
Bottom left.
Bottom left, what you're saying? It is Joe, yeah, okay, there you go, see. No surprises there. And then you notice things. Different accounts all over the place posting random things that aren't even completely related, but they all seem related to each other's posts. And then we're seeing it. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of bots following Elon Musk's Twitter account and posting their news underneath it to gain interactions. They've made the Cybertruck actually look good, and yet two completely different people are saying it. We have a guy visiting, I don't know, I think he's visiting a house or something. There's a guy over there saying, yeah, I've got a new suit or something. Completely unrelated to Elon Musk's robot. There we go. So what's basically going on there is they're basically trying to poison the search algorithm. It's basically taking all these things, that is, Twitter looks at what you're doing, YouTube looks at what you're doing, the Netflix algorithm looks at what you're watching and how long you're watching it for. It's measuring your engagement, it's weighting it up, it's working out what's more likely to make you click on something next. And this we've seen all over the place. We've seen the amount of hashtags under random videos and so on, and you're looking at it and saying, why am I watching this crap? I guarantee you, most of the time you're watching this crap, have a look at the amount of hashtags underneath it. See how many things have been put under it. What's animal and ankle and nature and animals all in the same sentence? God, why am I looking at animals' ankles? Like, that doesn't make sense. Blow this. What? I don't know. Right? It can come from the news sometimes. You can sometimes get weird things going on. You can have yellow journalism. It's a bit of an American term, but we see it over here. Basically, people reporting a half-truth or the kind of, what's what I'm looking for here? Yeah, they're kind of like engorging a detail to make it sound horrible. They're trying to use, sensationalism. So, President Fred uses a red car. A red car killed someone last week. All right, therefore, Fred's a bad person. Not quite. President Fred threatens a small Scottish village and, highlight threaten, dangerous. It's going to get your interest, right? You can get it from high partisan news. I'm sure I don't need to talk about Fox News and a whole bunch of British tabloids. I'm not wanting to. Arguably some of our newspapers are quite like that. Just be very careful over who your sources are when you're taking this stuff on. Do have a look and see if they're aligning one way or another. Can it be seeded? That's what's interesting. There's a good chance that even if you find a good news source, they will be granted an interview with a politician. But most politicians, in fact, mostly anybody involved in the public sphere of influence, knows that every opportunity in front of a camera is a PR op. Trump tried passing this guy notes, obviously, and of course you can see the reporter's reaction. He's like, what the fuck are you talking about? This was a staged kind of interview. And it's weird because I'm sure it's from an Australian station at the time. The Australian station wouldn't have anything to do with American politics, would seem pretty unbiased. Of course it's not. It's Trump you're interviewing. He's going to try his best to get his own image out of that. So yeah, speaking of him, have you ever heard someone say something completely barmy? Well, I've been down here for the better part of 40 minutes, I guess. Yeah, I've said something barmy. Musk has done something stupid. It's generating news. You're going to go and you're going to be shocked by something. All of this is basically designed to make you think, yeah, okay, you keep saying this, I'm not interested anymore. Yeah, it's kind of normal. And what ends up happening in that case, I'll take, for example, Trump's Muslim ban. He originally called for a Muslim ban, and everybody's like, no, that is so wrong, you can't say that. And then some of the other stuff he says, by comparison, there seems kind of tame. But it's still bad. Why on earth would you be saying this? Advertising campaigns, here we go, this is going to be a fun bit. Yeah, so advertising campaigns kind of run similar to disinformation campaign, but, you can argue at least their intention's slightly more honest. They're trying to get you to buy a product. But they're trying to get you to buy a product based off the FIFO scale. How much advertising can you get out before someone turns around and goes, I am fed up of this? Basically, we know that if you put in effort for something, there's a good chance you're going to reap the rewards afterwards. But we're all scientists in here, and we know that's a really stupid proposition. We want to minimize the amount of effort and maximize a return. Again, this is where disinformation and advertisement campaigns, if it's really cheap advertising and successful, well, it's working. Deceptive imagery. Yeah, what was I going here? Yeah, form of deception, framing something in the wrong context. We've seen this a lot, and again, I thought this was quite interesting on the back of the Russian invasion recently. You take an obvious fake, and you can make it look lifelike, and somebody will start looking at it and going, oh, that's really worrying, that's a real tank. Of course, we can all see that's not a real tank, yeah? It's a big inflatable tank. But what we've seen recently is people basically saying, right, here's an image of a church that was bombed. Yes, I believe it was the Orthodox Cathedral in Odessa was hit by something. But what we've seen was Russian media channels on their side of the thing saying, nah, if it was hit by a missile, it wouldn't exist. Or no, our missiles never miss. Or no, we wouldn't deliberately target an Orthodox church. Ignoring the fact that's a war crime completely. They've changed the narrative to basically become, yeah, nah, none of this actually happens. If it was to happen, we wouldn't be talking about this. Nah, our missiles are super effective, super devastating. Yeah, scaremongering. There you go. So, I was talking to some people earlier on this morning, and I wasn't here for the first 2 years of the current, I'm trying to think, yeah, if you're first or second year, you probably didn't see me much, because I wasn't here, but if you were third year, you probably might not see me because of COVID. The fourth years probably didn't have a lively first year because of COVID as well. You're probably stuck in sitting all the time, reading all these bits of stuff that's still about, and I'm going to cover that in a second. Basically, you're sitting there and you're going, yeah, okay, COVID, wonderful, it's killing people. But how about 5G rumours? They're much more interesting, right? No. Such conspiracy theories actually led to the burning of 77 different 5G towers in the UK. There are people out there in our country right now who went out to their nearest tower and burned it down. Meanwhile, there is a massive pandemic. Oh yeah, the Huawei thing didn't help, remember that. Sadly, disinformation can come from your close circles as well. It could be me, if you know me. Just putting that out there. Just looking at you a lot. It's good to have friends and family. It's completely normal to disagree with them. However, by virtue, you're naturally more inclined to believe someone you know quite well. Likewise, they are more inclined to believe you if they know you quite well. But, it doesn't directly translate to our own personal beliefs and, being the same. So I'm giving a talk, for example. What I say, you might not agree with. I might have said something stupid. Right. Yeah, it can come from the news, press, yeah, bear in mind. We've covered all this. We've seen some Ofcom reports about how the UK channels are orientated. That can get quite interesting. We're going to save some time. We're just going to skip ahead to... Yep, here we are. For any of you who don't know, there are still newspapers out there that still promote conspiracy beliefs on the daily. And these are fun, but I wouldn't recommend you buy them. For any of you who know this newspaper, this is, in my humble opinion, a piece of shit. It is disgusting. Do not wipe your own arse with it. It is nothing but lies. The entire time I was reading this on my little web browser here, 5G myths are still alive. People are still trying to get convinced to go out and tear down the nearest 5G tower. It's 2024. We are 4 years on from the pandemic, and we're still trying to get rid of 5G. So, where is all this reaching? Well, you can do some statistics from the previous year, and you can see that the internet's got a population of about 5.3 billion people on it. That's 5.3 billion I need to worry about if I see them in the sock, I guess. I mean, every day, that grows bigger. The amount of stuff I'm expected to look at becomes bigger. The scope of our operations become bigger. You see the amount of tweets each day. You can see how many times, in 2022, for example, you could see the semi-final was reached by, way more viewers than it should have been. Mainly because people are locked down and because people have a lot more access to the internet these days. Let's see, population, yeah, that's fine. So beware the Black Mirror. Considering our internet stats, perhaps giving 2/3 of Earth's population access to a mobile phone might not be a good idea. So that's about 94% of the users on the internet will look at social media today, right now. They'll be sitting there and they'll be looking at everything I've just discussed and trying their best to work out if all of it's lies or if all of it's disinformation. And that's where we're trying to stop. We're trying to get people to think, no, everything you see online is not truth. Everything you see online should be taken with a gigantic pinch of salt. So, what happens if you take a lie? Well, we've seen these before. These are posters, one from World War II and one's from the coronavirus thing. People have tried and constrain this as propaganda. Oh, yeah, you shouldn't be self-isolating. That's just the government locking you down. You shouldn't be doing anything. Yeah, it's a public health concern. We need you to stay inside your home. This is propaganda. This is subtle. It's combining everything. There's a use of imagery, there's a use of a colour, there's a use of heroic images and so on, famous pictures, famous people and so on. making people feel good about something. Generally state-funded. Generally not really serving much of a purpose beyond making you feel good about something. Anyway. So, if you ever come across somebody like this in your life who believes this type of stuff, I'd say you need to basically understand that they need to be accepted. You need to accept them. I'm sorry. You can reject their beliefs, but you need to accept them. You need to get rid of this predisposition. You need to introduce a new radical way of looking at the world. You need to show them how on earth you yourself process information. Because if they admire you, then logically, if you were to turn around and say, this is how I do something, they're more inclined to do what you're going to do. And, yeah, they're going to be annoying. Simply, yeah, as I was saying, if Josh has this information that all of yous want, yeah, maybe you kind of just want to not talk about it. Maybe you kind of want to let a secret die. Maybe you kind of just want to let things go, chill out for a bit. You're not going to get through to someone if you have belittled them. You're not going to get through to someone if they've been told you're trying to change their mind. It's quite sad, but failing that, time is your best friend. So yeah, here we are. We're getting towards the end with 5 minutes left. Yeah, the SOC's moving towards an automated AI-centric workspace, and for every new issue, you need a trained and qualified analyst. Now, I don't mean an AI analyst, obviously. I mean like a proper analyst looking at these things. You need to deck that analyst out with as much of the skills and qualifications that you can get. 4 years of university is good, but having an extra year of work experience or having an extra year sitting there deciphering information online helps a lot. Yeah, you need to be the subject matter expert. You need to be me, an analyst. That's really crap. So how do we do it in SOC? Well, we do lots of OSINT. There's a whole bunch of different sources there. I'm just going to skip through them because I'm sure most people know what to look for online if you're trying to look up a hash or some crap like that. Interestingly, if you're trying to decipher disinformation, there are some resources. Here's Logically. Logically, I've been employed by TikTok and the BBC to combat disinformation. There's an American project aimed at getting rid of American disinformation, which is quite interesting. There's EU Disinfo, that's for the EU, oddly enough. Prevency is a software company in Germany. They sometimes do guides, but it's a paid service. So is Cyabra. You can basically upload a name onto Cyabra and it'll start drawing a net of all its, basically if it thinks it's a disinformation campaign, it'll draw a net of the campaign, which is pretty cool. Multago, I'd be shot if I didn't say Multago in any of this, because I'm sure Colin would burst through the door and maybe murder me, who knows. And yeah, honorable missions. Yeah, sometimes you can just go on Twitter and see people arguing. What can we expect this year? Well, we can expect more bot activity. This is from the first year's presidential debate of August in 2023. We can see this is a massive graph of a spike. At the time, there was an interview with Trump and Carlson on. It was the exact same spike that was happening in the middle of a political debate. So somebody out there was pushing a Trump-Carlson interview more than the Republican debate. Can we see more botnet attacks? Yeah, but I mean, I've been saying recently AI pretty much excels at getting rid of stupid little attacks like this. If it's simply blocking a malicious IP from connecting to your address, and AI is kind of better at doing that than I am. It's quicker, anyway. Will we see more of it? Yeah, I mean, the internet's growing every day. Deaf bound to see it. It's kind of just going to happen. Whoop. There's foreign elections this year. 50% of the world will vote in an election, which means there's going to be a lot of material produced. Yeah, whoop. That's a lot of campaign material, and it's going to mean there's going to be a lot of trolling this year. So beware of that. There's Olympics this year as well. If people are going to throw an issue about something bad happening in the Olympics, we're sure to see it. We're going to see lots of theories, I imagine, appear online. I mean, I'm still trying to work out what the logo's supposed to be this year, so I'm entertaining conspiracy theories regarding that. We might see more funny AI-related issues of, Trump and Biden getting along, or Trump doing something stupid, or Biden getting arrested. Who knows? I mean, what's your oyster with AI these days? Will we see more malware attacks? I mean, yeah, obviously, but, I mean, there's been much more of a crackdown on things that are really annoying people. We've seen a lot more international cooperation in this space. We've seen Operation Kronos recently take down a lot of Lockbit, which has been good, but, I mean, does that mean every malware campaign's gone? No, of course not. Something will fill the void. Yeah, I'm just going to skip that slide. Whoop. Yep, you got the skills and go use them. So your time at Abertay is what you make of it. I'm not sure. So many students in here with me? Yeah, some. That's good. So it's what you make of it. You need to ignore this trope. You need to think like the bad guys do. If you were thinking like the bad guys do, we'd all be arrested. Furthermore, you need to be able basically to think outside the box. Think critically and under pressure. If you are sitting there and wondering what the hell to do, you need to calm down, take a breath, think of what you know, and apply it. It's especially useful wherever you go. If you find yourself, stuck somewhere lost, if you can calm down, look at your phone, get Google Maps up, work out where you need to go, ask it a question, how do I get home? That's all good. Yeah. Similarly for me, if I'm sitting in the sock and I'm seeing these tickets and I'm wondering, oh, what the heck am I doing? Just take a wee bit of time to look further into the ticket and to hit something truly interesting, I find is quite rewarding, especially when it stops something for a client. Did Certain Events 2022 impact the conference? Yes, we did. We lost a speaker right before the conference started. We've lost the keynote speaker today, but I'm not entirely too sure that's due to any Ukrainian events. So in the end, did any of this matter? Yeah, you've wasted an hour in here with me. You've hopefully had a wee bit of fun. Global events impact us all. History never really repeats itself, but it rhymes. If we can train ourselves off what we've just seen here, we should be able to better interpret what's about to happen. There we go. The end. And on time. Hey, there we go.